To the Boeing scandal. This is a big story, a huge piece that you've done for dcreport.org, a website that does great journalism that you helped co-found and that you did co-found. You see it, huge Boeing scandal behind Alaska Airlines catastrophe. You detail a lot here, but I wonder if you can just give us a little piece of it, please.
Well, aviation, when I was a boy in the 1950s, there'd be stories all the time about planes crashing, because my father sometimes was a passenger in airplanes. I paid a lot of attention to this. Planes almost never crash anymore. But Boeing has had a series of serious incidents here with the Dreamliners, the 787s, and especially with the MAX jets. In fact, Kayak, the travel outfit, now allows you to exclude from flights MAX jets, MAX 8s and MAX 9s. So what happened here is the door panel, as you saw in the image that was on the screen, of this Boeing 737, was a plug to make it look like a window instead of the door, blew out 16,000 feet over Oregon on January 5th. All the coverage since then has been built around this issue of the door blowing out. But that's not the story. So a Cub reporter, literally her first week on the job, has shamed all the bigs in American journalism with an article at The Lever, which is another lightly funded, it's not a nonprofit, lightly funded online news service. It's a for-profit service, although I doubt it makes any money. And what she showed was Boeing sought safety waivers. Who sought them? A member of the board of directors, a former Trump administration appointee named Nikki Haley. They wanted to be able to hide what they were doing. There's an email in which an employee of the subcontractor, used to be part of Boeing, that built the door system, writes, this is not safe. You're not paying attention to all the quality issues that are not right. And you're ordering us to falsify safety records. And I wrote in the piece, if that makes you, afraid to get on a Boeing MAX jet, you know what? It should. What's happened is the money culture that has taken over Wall Street, private equity, the focus on more and more profits has taken away from Boeing its focus on safety. That's what made aviation take off as an industry in America. People became persuaded that safety first, safety last. Almost nobody complains when a captain says, we're not leaving the gate because some little fuse is blown out, because they know that's a safety issue. But there's clear evidence here that Boeing, when we had two crashes of 787s 5 years ago that killed 346 people. Sure. And what did we learn from that? Boeing, the software that made the pilots lose control and the planes crash, was done by programmers paid $9 an hour. I don't want to fly in an airplane with any software from a $9 an hour programmer. So what I did is wrote a piece praising The Lever, the news organization in Denver, run by a former congressional aide named David Sirota, who I've known for 20 years and does great work. This first week on the job reporter, Katja Schwenk from Phoenix, who did what all the bigs in Washington didn't do. As soon as this happened, she just went to the public record and said, well, what's out there? And she connected all the dots: campaign finance, secrecy, putting safety last, and wrote there've been a bunch of stories now, and I linked to all of them in order. It says you can read them in order here, and here, and just click on them. They're stunning, and I will tell you that I have brought this up in several private forums for journalists at the best news organizations in America where I used to work. And the general attitude is, because there's no more sensitive group to being criticized than journalists at big news organizations. Me on occasion in the past.
Yeah, I want to just tell everybody that you can knock around the internet, but you can also just go to the description in this video. We'll break this out as a separate video in addition to the live show. And in both places, in the live show and also this video, we'll have a link to David's piece, and that links to all these Lever pieces. I've been a subscriber and a supporter of David Sirota for a long time. We've had him on this show, and he's just brilliant. And this is brilliant work being done. And you pointed out, I mean, this person whose first story, bust this wide open may get them a Pulitzer. Hey,
Mark, just one thing. I noticed Randy in the comment says, a programmer in another country making $9 an hour, that might be a lot of money for them. You know, it might be, but somehow Airbus pays people better wages than Boeing, and they live in these very high tax environments. The company's headquartered in Strasbourg, France. They don't have these problems. So there's a culture here about safety and quality, but also about properly paying people. Just like, we now know that if you're a McDonald's counter person in Denmark, you make $20 an hour, you get paid vacation, the government takes care of your health care, which is fantastic health care in that country. And in contrast to that, in the U.S., we pay people horribly in all sorts of jobs. Quality needs to be the issue. I think they need to have a serious house cleaning at Boeing. And if Boeing gets in serious trouble, we will all feel the trickle-down damage, because Boeing is the single largest earner of foreign currency for the United States of America.
As a defense contractor, I would suggest primarily, right? I mean, or in
no, it's commercial airplanes. It's
more, really? That's the biggest part of their.
That's the biggest single piece of it. I mean, Boeing right now has something like 4,000 ships, airships in its backlog. But if anybody who thinks that Airbus, Embraer in Brazil, the Chinese aren't, saying, boy, here's our chance to get in there and sell a lot of planes and steal business from Boeing, of course they are. So it really matters that this company is being run in a manner that old man Boeing, who died, God, half a century, more than a half a century ago, 60 years ago, he would never have gone for this, because he understood that safety first, safety second, safety last.
Well, the FAA is a skeleton crew compared to the Boeing machine that has completely overtaken the FAA. I mean, with regulatory captures, we talk about a lot on the show, and we talk about the fact that Boeing outsources this. This is an outsourced company. It's called Spirit Aerosystems, and they've had huge problems. So
Boeing, at the end of the day, as the primary builder. I mean, all companies that assemble things use contractors. Your car may come with seats made by one company, but the brand on it is the badge on the car. Boeing is ultimately responsible for quality control, and Boeing clearly is not paying enough attention. Chafing on wires that then sparked batteries in the 787s, the pieces that don't fit when they put the 787s together, because instead of using experienced, well-paid machinists in Renton and Seattle, the Seattle area, they took this almost $1 billion subsidy that Nikki Haley got Boeing and went to South Carolina, and they've had serious problems with the 787. Not ones that have brought the planes down, but ones that have forced them to be grounded and caused huge retrofits. Cutting corners almost always ends up costing you more than you save. And by the way, at the same time that Spirit Aerosystems, formerly part of Boeing itself, was telling workers to, according to this email, to falsify safety records.
Exactly.
That company and Boeing, that didn't want to spend money on safety, spent $800 million on paying executives and high-level executives and directors, and $67 or $69 billion buying back stock, but they don't have money for safety. They want to hire $9 an hour programmers. Before the Reagan administration, companies buying back their own stock was criminal. It wasn't allowed. It was seen as manipulation of the stock market. And we need, I think, to go back to stopping stock buybacks or making them very difficult for companies. Because what's really happening is this use of stock buybacks to justify the size of the stock awards to executives. And a guy just contacted me who ran a family company in the auto industry for years, 400 employees. And he said, we had stock options. We had them 60 years ago, and we gave them out so that everybody at the company, me as the head of the company and the janitor, got the same number of options. Wow. And he said, as a result, we got an incredibly dedicated workforce that was focused on the company doing well because the company rewarded them. Now, the attitude is, the CEO, deserve all the stock options.
Well, the stock, and then they just run the stock up. It's another way to bonus those at the very top. But again, just to underscore it, company executives, quote, concealed from investors that Spirit suffered from widespread and sustained quality failures. Spirit, again, is the outsourced company. These failures included defects such as the routine presence of foreign object debris in Spirit products, missing fasteners, peeling paint, and poor skin quality. Such constant quality failures resulted in part from Spirit's culture, which prioritized production numbers and short-term financial outcomes over product quality, and Spirit's related failure to hire sufficient personnel to deliver quality products at the rates demanded by Spirit and its customers that include Boeing. Again, it's all there.
In the chat, Randall asks a very good question. Why am I messing with Nikki Haley? Why am I bringing her up? Nikki Haley, after arranging the nearly $1 billion giveaway of taxpayer funds to Boeing so they would move a factory to South Carolina, a small, poor state, became part of the Trump administration. And then when she left at the end of 2018, just a couple of months later, she joined the board of Boeing. And while on the board of Boeing, she tried to cow aviation safety regulators. She worked on helping Boeing in its effort to hide how much money it was spending to influence the political system. This is not good, and it is a more than important issue, at least to discuss. Even if you disagree with me and you think, well, that's fine, she can go ahead and do that, fine. But we ought to know it. We ought to discuss it, especially because this was about safety. This wasn't about taxes or something else. What Nikki Haley did was about safety, and we were very lucky that we didn't have a plane come down over Portland on January 5th.
So true. Kim points out this news, and then I'll let you go, David K. Johnston.
Yeah.
Boeing stock is plunging.
Yeah. I think Boeing is in very, very serious trouble, and they're going to lose lots of orders. And the fact that Kayak, this travel aggregator, and now, as you put up on the screen, allows you to exclude Boeing's MAX 8 and MAX 9 aircraft from flight schedules. When you go to book a flight, it's up on the screen now. That's, I think, very, very revealing.
Read David K. Johnston's piece. It links to the piece in the Lever, the multiple pieces actually in the Lever. And as I say, you'll find it in the description of this episode. David, there is your piece in DC Report. Huge Boeing scandal behind Alaska Airlines catastrophe, and it lays bare the regulatory capture and corruption that's associated with the FAA.
All put together not by one of the bigs in journalism, but by a Cub reporter her first week on the job.
We should get her on, actually.
I think that would be a great idea.
Let's get her on. That's a great idea.
I hope she gets big awards for this. A lot of what she did is stuff that had been published by other people, but she connected the dots and drew together what the story is here about how this happened and the story behind it. And at a lot of newspapers, to do what she did, you would be told, well, that's tendentious. The fact that there's a campaign contributions by, what does that have to do with the door blowout? Because it would be seen as a very narrow issue of the manufacture, design, and installation of that door, not the system of regulation.
Thank you. Systematic, exactly. David, appreciate your work. Thank you, sir. All right, David K. Johnston, everybody. Yeah. No, that's for Tendacious. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.